When people think about Ankylosaurus, they usually picture a simple tank dinosaur with a club on its tail. But the real animal was far stranger than that. It didn't look like a regular dinosaur with armor added on top. It looked like something specifically engineered to survive in one of the most dangerous periods in Earth's history. And there's an important detail here. Even though Ankylosaurus is one of the most famous dinosaurs ever discovered, scientists still don't fully understand it. No complete skeleton of the species has ever been found. Most modern reconstructions rely on fragmented fossils and comparisons with more complete relatives. Even so, some things are very clear. Ankylosaurus lived during the very last moments of the Age of Dinosaurs, around 66 million years ago, in the same ecosystems where Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus rex also lived. And unlike the popular image filled with giant spikes, Ankylosaurus probably had a lower, wider, and heavier body, covered with flattened armor plates that formed something closer to a continuous biological shield. Its skull was also bizarrely unique. It was extremely wide, with oddly positioned nostrils and incredibly tiny teeth for such a massive animal. Even today, paleontologists still debate the exact purpose of its unusual nasal structure. But the creature that truly dominated the landscape was its sheer bulk. Ankylosaurus was probably the heaviest ankylosaur ever discovered. Conservative estimates place it around 5 tons, while giant individuals may have approached 8 tons and nearly 26 feet in length. In practical terms, it was like putting military-grade armor onto a herbivore the size of a small bus. And all of that mass ended in one of the extreme weapons of the Cretaceous. The tail club of Ankylosaurus became one of the most iconic weapons in paleontology, but it was far more sophisticated than it looks. This wasn't just a heavy tail. The entire structure was modified to function as a dedicated impact weapon. The vertebrae near the end of the tail were stiffened and reinforced, forming a rigid handle-like structure. Powerful muscles stabilized the sideways motion, while the club concentrated the force directly into the impact point. And biomechanical studies reveal something incredible. Large ankylosaur tail clubs could generate enough force to break bone. That completely changes how we see this animal. For decades, the classic interpretation was simple. Ankylosaurus evolved this weapon mainly to defend itself against predators like T-Rex. But modern research paints a more complicated picture. Injuries found in other Ankylosaurus suggest these clubs may also have been used in fights between members of the same species, possibly involving territory, dominance, or mating competition. In other words, this biological sledgehammer may not have been reserved only for desperate life-or-death situations. And that fits perfectly with the rest of the body design. Ankylosaurus was not built for speed. It was an extremely heavy, low-slung quadruped designed for stability. Its low center of gravity made sudden movements difficult, but it also made the animal incredibly hard to knock over. Attacking an Ankylosaurus would have been a serious risk, even for large predators, because unlike many herbivores, it didn't rely on escape. It relied on endurance.
Despite its intimidating appearance, Ankylosaurus probably spent much of its life feeding on low-growing vegetation across the wet floodplains of the late Cretaceous. Its broad snout and low body suggest a specialist built for eating ferns, shrubs, and ground-level plants. And those tiny teeth suggest limited chewing, meaning much of the food processing likely happened through fermentation inside the digestive system. But what makes this animal so fascinating is how extreme every part of it seems to be. The body was extreme, the armor was extreme, the tail was extreme. Even the skull followed a strange design compared to other ankylosaurs. And even with all its fame, science still doesn't fully understand it. The exact armor arrangement remains debated. Its maximum size is still uncertain. the full purpose of its unusual nasal system is still unresolved. Maybe that uncertainty is exactly what keeps Ankylosaurus so fascinating today. It lived during the final moments before the extinction of the dinosaurs, coexisted with Tyrannosaurus rex, and became one of the most extreme defensive animals evolution has ever produced. So here's the question. Do you think a T-Rex would really risk attacking a full-grown Ankylosaurus? Or would even the king of the dinosaurs think twice before fighting this living tank? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoy prehistory, science, and giant creatures explained in a cinematic and accessible way, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week we bring Earth's greatest prehistoric giants back to life.